Okay, there's a lot of noise around. We're just gonna ignore that. Last series Sunday I spoke about God being the content creator of the Trinity, and the objective of this 3-part series, you can see person 1, now it's person 2. I'm trying to make the concept of the Trinity a little bit clearer, though I'm not gonna go fully in depth. And in this video I'm gonna talk about the Holy Spirit being like electricity. If you want to know who the Holy Spirit is in the first place, you should check out this video made by the Bible Project. They are a very interesting channel, cool animations. I'm going to put a link down below. They've made this really nice video about the Holy Spirit, which you should check out if you don't know much about the Holy Spirit at all. So how I'm looking at this example of electricity is that if God is the content creator and He's making the stuff, He's the source, He sends this stuff through the Holy Spirit, this electricity, into whomever He chooses or wherever He chooses. So the Holy Spirit is this flow, this power, this energy through which God works. And throughout the Bible, the Holy Spirit is described as the Spirit of God. So it's God's Spirit Himself. This can get a bit confusing, so I'm just going to stick to course and we'll look at how the Holy Spirit and electricity have certain similarities. The first similarity is energy. The video I was talking about earlier about the Holy Spirit made by the Bible Project, I learned an interesting thing from them, and that is that the Hebrew word that's used to describe the Holy Spirit is ruach. I hope I said that correctly. And this means energy in different ways. In the Hebrew language it was written in, but the common meaning all refers to God's personal presence in the form of energy. And in physics, energy is described as the ability of an object to work on another object, just like the Earth's gravitational force that's working on us. The Spirit of God throughout the Bible has been shown to be active and doing work. In the beginning, it's written in Genesis that God created life on earth through the Spirit of God. And in the Old Testament you can see that God chose certain people He would anoint with the Holy Spirit, and they would do special powerful work for God. And after Jesus came in the New Testament and after He went back to be with God, He sent the Holy Spirit to the earth, to the people who believed in Him. And the Holy Spirit was made available to any believer, but that's again aside the point. Point is that the Holy Spirit worked through the disciples. People could see the effect on these disciples, and I'll be talking about that more later in the video. The second thing I want to talk about is flow. Now, electricity is defined as the presence and flow of electric charge. The Holy Spirit, as described in the Bible, again, is an active, always active presence of God. There's an incident in the Bible when a woman who was expecting healing touched Jesus, and Jesus could feel the Holy Spirit power leave Him on account of her faith. So you can see this Holy Spirit as a kind of flow from God, a kind of outpouring from God to humans. And that's not the limit of the Holy Spirit, but that's the kind of circuit being drawn here. It's incredible to think that through the Holy Spirit, humans, mere mortal humans, can access incredible power from God. Now the scriptural example of this is when Jesus is telling His disciples in Matthew 10:19 and 20, when you are arrested, don't worry about how to respond or what to say. God will give you the right words at the right time. For it is not you who will be speaking, it will be the Spirit of your Father speaking through you. So you can see how there's a connection being drawn from God the Father and the Holy Spirit through this circuit. The third thing I want to talk about is invisibility. By nature itself, electricity is invisible because the particles that make up electricity are too small to be seen with the human eye. However, the effects of electricity can be seen, and this is also true of the Holy Spirit. And the existence of the Spirit is debated today, the human spirit that is, but it is acknowledged in philosophy and psychology as the mental or spiritual part of humanity. So like electricity, the Spirit of God cannot be seen, but its effects can be seen. Like say, depression causes severe physical change in a person. In Acts 1:8, Jesus said, "You shall receive power when the Holy Spirit has come upon you, and you will witness me in Jerusalem, Judea, Samaria, and to the ends of the earth." He's telling this to His disciples, who at that time were I must say, when I read about them, they're quite cowardly. They're quite silly. They don't understand anything. They don't know what's happening. They fight among themselves. And then we see that the Pentecost happens when the Holy Spirit comes upon all these disciples. And then they completely transform into powerful, bold leaders of what now has become Christianity. Peter, especially, if you look at, he changes from this cowardly, confused being into a very bold, authoritative leader of the church. And this change happened in one day. I'm going to talk about the passage in which they all were filled with the Holy Spirit a little later in the video. But when the leaders and the scholars and the priests of that time heard Peter and the disciples talking, they were shocked. They were stunned. How can these uneducated people talk like this? And that's how an invisible force can really work wonders. The fourth thing I want to talk about, I'm not sure what word to give it. I'm just going to call it the presence. And what I want to cover on that is where the Holy Spirit is. If you take electricity, there is light in this room. Say there's a light bulb in front of me and around me. But there's also a lot of electricity operating in different parts of the world at the same time. So like that, the Holy Spirit does not only go to one person and then to another person, but God can work through the Holy Spirit simultaneously in different times, different people, different places, however He chooses. And now I'm going to talk about the passage which talks about the time of the Pentecost. On the day of the Pentecost, all the believers were meeting together in one place. Suddenly there was a sound from heaven like the roaring of a mighty windstorm, and it filled the house where they were sitting. Then what looked like flames or tongues of fire appeared and settled on each of them, and everyone present was filled with the Holy Spirit and began speaking in other languages as the Holy Spirit gave them this ability. You can see here that different people at the same time were filled with the Holy Spirit. So the presence of the Holy Spirit cannot be limited to one particular person or one place, kind of like the nature of God in different places at the same time. So yeah, these were the aspects of the Holy Spirit I wanted to cover. I hope it gave you a lot of food for thought in terms of who the Holy Spirit is and how He works. And yeah, let me know in the comments below what you thought of all of this. I'm Vihan Damaris on Serious Sundays, signing off, and I'll see you tomorrow on Miraculous Mondays.